Williams. And Lady Williams, my apologies, Lady Williams. May I ask that you remain standing as well for the national anthem of Antigua Barbuda to be performed by the Antigua Barbuda Youth Symphony Orchestra, Abiso. Thank you, Abiso. May I ask that you remain standing for the invocation this morning. That will be done by Reverend Father Leroy Hodge, a priest within the Diocese of Northeastern Caribbean and Aruba, with responsibility for the parish of St. John.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings you have bestowed upon us, especially the gift of your Son, Jesus Christ, who died and rose again from the dead. We give you thanks for all gathered today in this special meeting. We humbly seek your guidance and wisdom as they embark on this planning journey. May their hearts be united in purpose and minds open to new possibilities as they seek to create a plan that reflects your will and brings about positive change and growth. Lord, I pray that all decisions will be filled with understanding, respect, and a spirit of collaboration, leading to solutions that honor you and serve your people. We thank you for the opportunity to work together. As for your blessing upon this meeting, it comes out to each of those who participate. Heavenly Father, come before your people today. Fill their hearts with gratitude. We ask for your presence to be with them, guiding every decisions and discussion. May your wisdom and love be evident in all that is done. Help them to listen to one another with open hearts and to speak with kindness. Grant them courage to address the challenges and the strength to support one another. Father, for each mind and heart that fills the presence of this room this day, we thank you. Only you truly knows what the Caribbean Investment Summit 25 are setting out to accomplish today and beyond. The participants have their ideas, visions, hints, daily instructions. They have their talents, abilities, and time to work. However, only you can see the perfect detail and the end of every beginning, every project, every season, every life. Nothing is ever in vain, for every mistakes or missteps are used for good. Your righteousness transcends all efforts and understanding. Forgive us all our pride, the pride that puffs up and the pride that threatens to unqualify us. Strengthen our confidence in you. You have made us to be. Set us free from judgment in order to work together. Bless this meeting today, all those present, as well as their lives and the lives of those who will be encountered afterwards. Ready them to make every moment count. And so remind us of your faithful provisions when our effort fails or falls short. May all glory go up to you when they reach the finish line and climb over the benchmark sets. Blanket us with your peace today, Father. Keep us physically safe. Guard our hearts and minds from pride and selfishness. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light of all that is set out to be accomplished and celebrate. We commend this meeting into your hands, Lord. Lead. All this we ask in the triune God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Hodge. You may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Sir Rodney Williams, Governor General of Antigua-Barbuda, and Sandra Lady Williams, Prime Minister of Antigua-Barbuda, the Honorable Gaston Brown, Prime Minister of the Commonwealth of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, the Honorable Garth Wilkin, Attorney General of the Federation of St. Kitts Nevis and Minister for Justice and Legal Affairs, the Honorable Jamal Pringle, Leader of His Majesty's Opposition, the Honorable Sir Malwin Joseph, Minister for Health, Wellness, the Environment, and Civil Service Affairs. Other members of government gathered here this morning: Ambassador Jeffrey Hadid, Chair of the Citizenship by Investment Unit, and other chairpersons. Other members of the Diplomatic Corps: Dr. Valda Henry, Deputy Governor of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Mrs. Charmaine Quinlan Donovan, she's the Chief Executive Officer of the Citizenship by Investment Unit right here in Antigua, and other heads of CIU and CBI programs across the region. Other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, members of the media, partners all, good morning. Good morning. Mr. Gigi, I knew you were in the first to say good morning. My name is Ursula Charles Jr. Welcome to what we are calling the VVIP Day of CIS25. Yesterday was a VIP day where we held consultations with most of the industry leaders, the heads of government certainly across the 5 territories. And what came out of those meetings was a need for better stakeholder collaboration as we seek to triumph over the circumstances that seek to beset us. So that we've gathered all or most of the stakeholders together, we can consider today a VVIP Day, a very, very important Person's Day. We want to say thank you to the many sponsors who've made today very possible before we even proceed to the rest of the program. We want to thank the sponsors whose support has made the event possible. the commitment to the theme of integrity, stability, and sustainability cannot be heralded enough. From our diamond sponsors who set that standard, to platinum sponsors, silver experts, bronze champions of the CBI programs, financial supporters and partners, we thank you so much for all that you have done to make today possible. First to address us this morning is the CEO of the CIU, it's always a tongue twister for me, Mrs. Charmaine Quinlan Donovan, doing an expert job of leading the Citizenship by Investment Unit right here in Antigua Barbuda. Please help me to welcome her to the podium.
Thank you so much, Ursel. Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to adopt the protocol which has been so ably established by our MC extraordinaire. I'm filled with joy and immense gratitude to see so many of you here today, some from near and some from very far. For those of you who are new to our Twin Island, let me also warmly welcome you to our beautiful shores. I hope you will make some time to enjoy our hospitality, our beaches, and rich cuisine. Today is most auspicious. We continue to create history. Small island developing states operating in a global marketplace, delivering competitive value and transforming our economies. And we do it so well that we speak with authority and engage at the highest levels to strengthen our programs and safeguard shared border interests. As we commence our plenary today, we are impelled to bring all our experience, intellect, national and regional ambitions to this discursive table and to frame them within the context of both the threats and opportunities which confront us. Our focused objectives should be the crafting of future-ready, innovative investment immigration programs poised to respond to emerging market adjustments and targeted for national transformation. Please avail yourselves of all of the industry experts and change agents who are here at this summit. And I want to thank you for being here. Please have an amazing summit over the next 2 days. Thank you.
No doubt we will. Thank you so much, Mrs. Donovan, for your words to us. We should tell you that yesterday we had an impressive panel, 4 prime ministers from across the 5 territories and 1 attorney general joining us for intense stakeholder impact discussions. We should tell you that Prime Minister of Grenada, the Prime Minister of St. Lucia,
Sir Rodney Williams, the Governor General of Antigua and Barbuda, and Lady Williams, colleague ministers include Sir Maureen Joseph, my, of course, fellow Prime Minister, the Honourable Roosevelt Scarrett, Distinguished Attorney General of St. Kitts Nevis. I see the Leader of Opposition with us as well. All other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, as outlined in the opening protocol, good morning. It is both an honor and a privilege to welcome you to Antigua and Barbuda once again, having done so yesterday, for this year's Caribbean Investment Summit. I extend warm greetings on behalf of my government and the people of our beautiful Twin Islands state. Ours is a multicultural society that is most engaging and hospitable to visitors. I'll go as far as stating that Antigua and Barbuda is perhaps the most representative country of the Caribbean. And therefore, when you visit Antigua and Barbuda, you're literally enjoying the Caribbean. The theme of this year's summit is integrity, stability, and sustainability. And I'll say that it is not only timely, but speaks directly to the foundation upon which our investment migration framework is built. But before I go deep into my speech, I certainly want to extend a special welcome to my colleague Prime Ministers, two of whom are on the way, and Prime Minister Skerrit is here with us, as well as the distinguished Attorney General Sinkis Nevis, for making themselves available to participate in this very important summit. Your presence here and your engagements with the various stakeholders would have demonstrated your unwavering commitment for the continued strengthening of the OECS Caribbean investment immigration programs. In an era of increased geopolitical uncertainty, economic volatility, and regulatory scrutiny, the three values I spoke about, integrity, stability, and sustainability, are not just aspirations, they are imperatives. Colleagues, we stand at an inflection point. At this juncture in our history, as the leaders of these micro-states operating investment immigration programs within a globally unstable and hostile economic and political environment, we continue to realign and strengthen our programs to secure the mutual interests, including the security interests of all. The stability of these immigration investment programs, which are purveyors of great opportunity, is quintessential to the socio-economic stability of these countries, providing significant revenues to support much-needed economic diversification and the overall advancement of these micro-states. We are therefore duty-bound to future-proof these programs so that they remain inherently sustainable, infusing even greater transformative governance mechanisms and industry best practices into their operations. In the last 2 years, the immigration investment industry has faced unprecedented scrutiny. Countries have been called upon to abandon their investment migration programs, and threats of revocation of visa-free travel for third countries echo in the halls of national and quasi-national parliaments, and the program reengineering has become par for the course. This has been fueled by concerns and even speculations that investment migration is inherently prone to corruption and misuse. These programs continue to evolve as we reform them to mitigate risk, including access by nefarious individuals. We would like to thank our international partners for the recommendations they made in assisting us to strengthen our respective programs, to include the 6 points that were recommended by the United States. We are all committed to continued realignment from time to time to ensure the efficacious management, stability, and sustainability of these programs. However, there is still a significant amount of misinformation and disinformation about our programs, and even speculations and suspicions arising from a limited understanding of our unrelenting commitment to operate well-governed, transparent, accountable, and sustaining programs. And engagements like these obviously help to dispel some of these misinformation and disinformation. Admittedly, the ethos of investment migration in itself evokes polarizing perspectives, and in deference to both our domestic populations as well as our international partner countries and their citizens, we are committed to continuously implement routine policy reviews and changes to reassure international partners, especially those in North America and Europe. Whereas we are committed to routine realignments, we are mindful that we must guard against over-regulation that could undermine the competitiveness and ultimately the sustainability of our programs. Evidently, if our programs are not competitive, we would not be able to sustain them. So sustaining our programs is not exclusively about having sound regulations. It's also about having products that deliver for these citizens. And I want to speak briefly about the Antigua and Barbuda CBI program and its integrity. Antigua and Barbuda has long been recognized as a pioneer and global standard bearer of integrity in the Caribbean citizenship by investment industry. Since the inception of our CBI program in 2013, a program which incidentally was introduced on my recommendation while serving on the opposition benches, we have pursued a clear mission. A mission to operate a well-governed program to drive national development through foreign direct investment while maintaining the highest levels of accountability and transparency. We have attracted high-value investors from across the globe who share our vision of growth, innovation, and nation building. But none of this would be possible without a fundamental commitment to integrity. Our due diligence processes are uncompromising, multi-layered, and internationally benchmarked. We work with globally respected firms and collaborate with law enforcement and intelligence partners to ensure that only individuals of good character, legitimate financial standing are granted citizenship. I'll also speak about our regulatory oversight and compliance, which are critical to stability. Compliance is not a checkbox for us. It is a culture within our program. At the heart of our program lies a commitment to robust regulatory oversight. Our Citizenship by Investment unit adheres to international best practices, aligning fully with OECD tax transparency standards, FATF anti-money laundering directives, and regional AML-CFT frameworks. We are determined that individuals convicted of crimes against humanity, drug trafficking and related offenses, sexual offenses, capital offenses, money laundering, terrorism financing, human trafficking, migrant smuggling, and piracy, or any immigration offense that led to a denial of a visa, refusal of admission at the port of entry, or deportation would be ineligible. As indicated earlier, we have undertaken significant additional policy reforms on the recommendation of our international partners to enhance our screening procedures, to tighten vetting criteria, and to modernize the governance of our CBI programs. We do this not only to satisfy international expectations, but because we firmly believe that the security interests of our country and our regional international partners are mutual, and that investment migration programs must never compromise national or global security. Despite these reforms, these programs are not foolproof. The residual risk associated with these programs is such that one or two individuals involved in financial crimes have actually accessed our citizenship. These failures were not due to any due diligence failure. And invariably, these individuals are exposed and their citizenship revoked. In fact, there's one particular entity that was operating within the dark web, and it is as a result of his application for our citizenship why officials, law enforcement officials, were able to literally identify him. So, if anything, CIP programs also help to bring some of these nefarious actors above ground to identify them and certainly to apprehend them. In the case of Antigua and Barbuda, we have had no more than 3 such applicants, and therefore this is not indicative of any fundamental flaw in our program, but as I said before, is merely associated with the residual risk that cannot be mitigated, because as I said before, no program is foolproof. Neither those in North America or Europe, those in the Pacific, or here in the Caribbean. We have a number of additional safeguards to our program, including a sanction list that moves in tandem with US and European sanctions. We do not accept deed polls, and we also have a residency requirement, which makes our program less attractive, unfortunately, but at the same time, we see it as a very important aspect in support of the integrity of our program. We welcome the harmonization that is currently in progress among Caribbean CIP programs, including the establishment of the Regional Regulatory Commission, which we hope to have fully operationalized far before the end of the year. This is an initiative that Prime Minister Skerritt and I would have championed a decade ago, and I am extremely pleased that we are now at the implementation stage. CBI as a driver of sustainable and inclusive growth. positive impact of CBI program on Antigua and Barbuda is both visible and measurable. Citizenship investment funds have supported the reconstruction and climate resilient development of Barbuda following Hurricane Irma. It has also assisted with the modernization of our national healthcare system, expansion in public education, renewable energy initiatives, our infrastructural work, to include infrastructure that supports eco-tourism and the blue economy. Through our Sustainable Island Resilience Framework, we have committed to channeling investment into sectors that are future-proof, inclusive, and environmentally responsible. The CBI program is literally an enabler of that transformation. I now want to speak briefly about the international partnerships and reputation management. We recognize that the credibility of our CBI program depends on more than just what we do at home. It also depends on how we engage with the international community. And you recognize at this summit, there are several of our international partners who are participating. And again, we thank them for their participation. And that is why Antigua and Barbuda has built strong partnerships with the European Union, the United States, the United Kingdom, and our Caribbean neighbors. These relationships are vital to intelligence sharing, cross-border cooperation, and the development of region-wide compliance benchmarks. We support the establishment of a common compliance framework for the Caribbean CBI jurisdictions, one that promotes transparency, accountability, and mutual trust. I'll now speak to the future of CBI, CBI 2.0 as I would have named it. We stand today at a pivotal moment in the evolution of investment migration. Our vision is to build what I call the CBI 2.0, a system enabled by digital transformation, including the use of biometrics, and we are currently in discussions with our international partners to assist us to move quickly in the use of biometrics to help to mitigate certain risks. Also, is an enabler of real-time compliance monitoring and transparent and accountable reporting mechanisms. We fully understand our international partners' concerns about potential rogue programs operating globally, and to recognize and reward well-regulated, transparent programs compared to those that fall short of the mark. I'm proud to say that Antigua and Barbuda is on the right side of that line, as we operate an investment immigration program with unparalleled integrity, transparency, and accountability. In conclusion, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, investment migration is not a threat to national integrity. When properly governed, it is a strategic pathway to economic resilience and sustainable prosperity. And I would have indicated to our international partners that investment immigration programs could be mutually beneficial to all countries and regions if they're properly governed. Because generally speaking, only wealthy people are able to raise the necessary funding to access these programs. And invariably, whenever they travel, even to vacation in North America and Europe, they spend an enormous amount of monies in those economies, supporting consumption, supporting jobs. So well-governed CBI programs are actually mutually reinforcing, and they are mutually beneficial. Hence the need for continued cooperation and collaboration. One of the most significant endogenous threats, however, is the peddling of misinformation and disinformation about our programs by political operatives who are seeking to undermine our programs for political gain. And there are many political opponents who will, tongue-in-cheek, claim that they support these programs, but on the other hand, do all they can to destroy them, obviously for political gain. I wish to caution our political opponents who have sought to mire respected programs in unjustifiable propaganda in their ill-advised attempt to destroy our programs to create hardships for people. The misinformation and disinformation that have been peddled about our programs have created certain anxieties among our regional and international partners, subjecting our programs to unjustifiable ridicule. This type of behavior is destructive and serves no useful purpose. Let those who have ears hear. Our sub-regional CIS25 investment programs are so important to nation building and the advancement of our people. They should not be the subject of battleground partisan politics. And I certainly want to join my other colleague prime ministers to appeal to those in the private sector, the various practitioners, to assist us with the public information and awareness advocacy that is necessary to keep our programs above this destructive fray. Because a lot of the information that is peddled globally about our programs, they emanate within the domestic space. And though not true, they resonate and they undermine our programs. Again, I'm appealing to those here in Antigua and Barbuda and throughout the OCS Caribbean to cease and desist, because ultimately, when opposition parties become the government, they will benefit from the program. So why destroy it while in opposition with the hope to benefit when you become the government? That is just ridiculous. I'm sure the leader of the opposition will agree with me. In closing, I wish to reassure all stakeholders that Antigua and Barbuda will continue to lead by example. We believe that good governance is good business, and we will continue to uphold the values of integrity, stability, and sustainability, not only in our CBI program, but in every aspect of national development. We are committed to good governance. I thank you for your attention, your collaboration, and your shared commitment to shaping a future where responsible investment serves our people, protects the planet, and builds peace and stability. Once again, welcome to Antigua and Barbuda, a model of trust, resilience, and opportunity. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. No holds barred in the Prime Minister's address, of course, labeling some of those threats unfair and unacceptable. We're going to have our high-level panel coming up next. This, of course, with the regional leaders, regional heads of government and their representatives on the integrity and stability in shaping regional investment programs, creating and implementing the vision.
I will be acknowledging the presence of important people. I will adopt the protocol established, but also, instead of just acknowledging the presence, I want to thank the panelists. I think we're going to share also. I want to thank the panelists personally for being here, Attorney General Wilkins, Prime Minister Pierre, and Prime Minister Brown, Prime Minister Russo, and Prime Minister Mitchell. I want to start this conversation that we're going to have with a few personal thoughts. The first thought is, as I was preparing for this panel, I was thinking of what other industry conference could there possibly have been, a private industry conference, where that conference would be honored with the presence of 4 prime ministers. I couldn't think of anything, not an oil conference, not an electricity conference, not any other conference. I tried to look online, I couldn't find anything. And so I think we're making history. I have a feeling I can't find anything else. So that's the first thing that I wanted to acknowledge, and obviously that shows the importance of this conference to this region and to our industry. I also want to mention the last time that we had almost as many prime ministers attend such conference. It was literally 10 years ago in London, where future, we were at an inflection point in the industry when new players were coming in, and a lot was going to happen. 10 years later, a lot has happened. The industry has grown by leaps and bounds, and it has had an amazing effect on all of these countries that we represent here. We are again at another inflection point, and that's what we're going to be talking about here as well. And before I ask my first question to the panelists, I want to say one more thing for myself personally about the effects of CIP on these countries. I believe, and everybody knows I'm in the CIP industry, but I made the Caribbean my home. I am a CIP citizen, but my family has grown up here. I've invested in businesses here. I've had an effect on the economy, on the industry. This is a success of the CIP, and I'm not the only success. But I think it's important to understand that there have been many, many success stories over the last 10 years, and hopefully will continue in the next 10 years. So remembering the past, what I'd like to do is ask the panel to say, to begin the discussion, say a few words on how the CIP has affected your country over the last 10 years, since the last time almost as many prime ministers were on the stage here. So maybe Prime Minister Mitchell, we can start.
Thank you very much. Can I acknowledge the presence of the citizens of the General Manteca, fellow colleague prime ministers, Honorable General Manteca, and esteemed ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Just some quick statistics. The CIP non-tax revenue has been referred for budgeting purposes for the long period has moved from around roughly 1% of GDP to about 12% of GDP. We anticipate that 12% will taper off because to a large extent it was partly because of what we call the Russian rush, which took place. So that's certainly statistically that has become obviously a significant part of the government's revenue. Second, crucially, so that we understand the link between CIP and the overall macroeconomic fiscal situation of the government. We're went through a self-styled, self-imposed structural adjustment program in 2013 to deal with ballooning debt to GDP ratio, which involved restructuring of its debt, most of its domestic and international creditors. As part of the restructuring with the international creditors, there was a built-in clause that stated that if CIP revenues reach a certain percentage, there will be balloon payments to the international credit bondholders, which was not actually going to be used in it, but in fact was simply going to be a bonus payment to them. As a result of that clause, regular at the end of 2025, it will be immediately about $100 million in bonus payments to these international bondholders as a result of these CIP revenues. I want to make a point that when people think that CIP is only about the domestic space, when there are all kinds of allegations, most of them in the clearance of the misuse of CIP funds for the purpose of the international community and the international finances, international bondholders, international lending institutions. Certainly in the regular space, they are the ones who are benefiting from a significant growth in government revenues as a result of CIP. I will just mention two other features of the impact of CIP in the context of regular. So those who are such an extent, that to a large extent, we have no foreign direct investment in the agree that it's only major economic sectors, for example, hospitality and tourism, certainly throughout the 1990s and the first decade of the last decades, and same for one major hotel. Almost all hotels that are either under construction or under expansion are directly to CIP points. So that tells you the significant impact that it had certainly on foreign direct investment. And finally, it has allowed the government to build resilience into the fiscal space. We have created the special fund that sits with these central bank. We have legislated into law that the government is mandated to transfer a certain percentage of the CIP funds into that fund, which is essentially a rainy fund in the event of a natural disaster or in the event of any major economic shock or crisis. And as you are aware, on the 1st of July last year, after a full hurricane drive, destroying most of the island, small islands, and little islands. Luckily, we did not have to draw down on that buffer because we also purchased catastrophic risk insurance in collaboration with our partner that allowed us to deal with some of the cash flow challenges that would arise from the hurricane. But this is just part of how the CPI revenues are to build financial and fiscal resilience into what is will become the norm. I think the access. It's not flash flooding, then it's drought, it's not drought. Then hurricanes, it's not hurricanes, it's rising sea levels or rising sea temperatures. So all this is part of the larger macroeconomic strategy of building resilience for really nice suspect by extension for all the colleague countries in Louisiana, as you know, government is something enormous loss and that's a snapshot. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add something that you touched on. A good friend of mine is one of the runs a fund.
And my hope was for Dominica to become the first developing country to have a 0% debt to GDP ratio. And then we were going to create a fund and pay into that fund as if we were still owing, or we still had national debt, and to use that as a fund to reinvest in the country and also to make loans available to development bank at lower interest rates so that the private sector could have access to cheaper financing. We were also saving for the construction of our international airport. And at the time of Hurricane Maria, we had in excess of $260 million, and by now we would have had enough money to build international airport in cash. And had it not been for Hurricane Maria, we would have had enough monies to have paid off our national debt about 2 years ago. But things have changed. And we have just, in the last 3 years or so, we have recommenced. We've created a vulnerability risk reduction fund. And we are paying into that fund, which is resident at the central bank, monthly, in the event that we are faced with a catastrophic disaster or an external shock, that we can access those funds to help. We've also created a debt repayment fund. And my hope is that succeeding generations of leadership in our country would have access to a fund that would guarantee them, or at least guarantee them, the ability to repay on some of our debt. And then we have a floor of 100, or estimate will be $142 million, where you will not be able to touch that fund if it's below $142 million at any one time. And of course, there's special clause to draw on this in exceptional circumstances. We have used our funds in many areas, from construction of hospitals to health centers. I mean, in one period of 2 years, we built about 12 health centers and one hospital. And of course, housing, and the housing that we build are given to our citizens in large measure at no cost to them. And so we continue to invest heavily in the public sector investment program. We are now constructing a cable car as an additional tourism attraction. We are now constructing a marina under the CBI program. And of course, we're constructing an international airport. And what we have to understand, all of us, Dominica was one of the countries which did not benefit from the presence of the US and Western allies who was able to build at least an airport that would allow for bigger aircrafts to land. So we've had to do it by ourselves from scratch. And the reality is, whether it's the CDB or whether it's the World Bank, we would not give any country like ours monies to build an airport. And you have to finance it yourself. And of course, we all understand the importance of having improved air access into our countries. So the CBI programs are very, very crucial to bringing in foreign direct investments, assisting in growing the economy and expanding the economy, assisting in creating jobs, and ensuring the social safety nets are capitalized to the benefit of the citizens. And of course, we can spend a lot of time chronicling the many interventions that we have undertaken. When Hurricane Maria came in, of course, we were faced with two disasters in quick succession in 2015, 2017, and then the COVID-19 came very early in 2020. Yes, you will borrow from the World Bank and others, but this takes a pretty long time to access the funds. So we borrowed for housing from the World Bank in 2017. We concluded loan negotiations in October of 2017, and we were only able to access the loans, the funds, I believe in 2023, 2024, to build homes. So if I had to rely exclusively on the loans from the World Bank to build homes for people, many would have been still in shelter. But luckily we had funds saved, and we were able to use that to build homes and to rebuild infrastructure. And that is what people don't understand. People will tell you that there are funds out there and so on, but they do not appreciate the gestation period. To borrow money from the CDB, it is not a criticism of the CDB, that is how it is. You sign a loan today, you are guaranteed that you won't get a loan before 7-10 years. And if you have a bridge that is washed away, and a country like Dominica, where every mile you travel there are 3 or 4 bridges, and a bridge gets washed away, I cannot wait for 5 years to rebuild the bridge. I can't wait for 10 years to rebuild the bridge. And so we have to appreciate it. And of course, this is why I share the comments of the Prime Minister of Antigua in his welcome remarks today, that it should not be left to the governments alone to be the one espousing the virtues of the CBI program. We do not hear the agents, we do not hear the developers, we do not hear the private sector, all of whom are benefiting directly from the CBI program. And our silence gives people the impression that there are things untoward. And so our presence here today, in my respectful view, and I would have really preferred that our comments we shared yesterday would have been in this plenary session. Our hope is that your presence here, your consciousness can be poked, and that we have a paradigm shift in how we engage ourselves on this. Because our silence is not helping the cause of the CBI programs. These programs are beneficial, they're meaningful, they are life-changing, and they are important. Because with this world, and I've seen the world change, I've been around for some time, and I've seen the world change dramatically. The world of 10 years ago is a completely different one now. Completely different one now. And the question is, how are we going to position ourselves to continue to finance the public sector investment programs, to continue to finance the social safety nets, to alleviate poverty, and to increase employment opportunities, and to give our citizens hope. Thank you very much.
Prime Minister Brown.
Thank you very much. I think I'll give a little historical perspective so that our delegates here will understand the importance of the CBI program here in Antigua and Barbuda, and perhaps our international partners ought to listen intently. Our CBI revenues represent on average about 10% of total income. Our economy generally is about 2 billion. Our annual income about $1 billion. So we collect an average $100 million a year, EC, in CBI revenues. Now, in 2014, when we assumed the governance of the country was literally teetering on bankruptcy. In fact, it was the economic difficulties at the time that prompted me back in 2009 to urge the then UPP administration to pursue an investment immigration program. I mean, I didn't do it exclusively out of benevolence, but perhaps more out of necessity, recognizing that our country was failing. At that time, we would have had economic losses as high as 9% in a single year as a result of the global crisis. And in a 4-year period, the country lost 25% of its economy. The country at the time could not even pay for water, electricity, and fuel. And that is no exaggeration. As I said, the country was teetering and bankruptcy. And when I recommended the program to the then government, I came under a lot of fire from members of my own party. But I took the position at the time that I'd rather be an ordinary citizen of a successful country than to be Prime Minister of a failed state. And I'm saying this too in the context that responsible opposition positions you for government. If you pursue irresponsible tear-down politics, people don't take you seriously. At that time, I was not even leader of the opposition. I was not even chairman of the party. I was just an ordinary member of parliament who recognized that something drastically had to be done to get fresh cash into the economy, to save the country's economy, to address unemployment at the time, which was over 20%. Youth unemployment was approaching 40%. Poverty had increased significantly. In fact, at the time, a poverty study was done, and poor and indigence in this country was about 17%. It was the CIP program during the last 10 years that in the first instance helped us to stabilize the country's economy and then to grow it sustainably to the extent that our country is doing significantly better today. Back in 2014, the debt to GDP was 104%. Today, we've gotten it down to 64%. We have seen robust economic activity for the last 10 years. Our tourism infrastructure is expanding. We are building out our socioeconomic infrastructure. In fact, our CIP proceeds have been utilized for both recurring and capital expenditures. I remember on one occasion, the IMF suggested to us that we should be saving monies for a rainy day. I said to them categorically, how do you expect us to save monies when we have a deficit? Are we supposed to do borrow to fund the deficit at a higher rate and put the money in savings at a lower rate? That doesn't make any economic sense. So I'm saying this to say that we didn't have the luxury to allocate the funds exclusively to capital investment, because at one point, even prior to us taking the governance of the country, annual deficits were as high as 9% of GDP. So it was a real dire situation. And again, I want to add here, it was the careful and strategic use of CIP proceeds that helped us to stabilize the country's economy. And we'd have utilized those funds in healthcare, in education, in road infrastructure, entrepreneurship, even in terms of social programs. The CIP proceeds would have assisted us in funding a number of programs, including our Happy program, in which we provide free homes to the poor and indigent. Even beautification, garbage collection, CIP proceeds have been utilized extensively in this country. I should add here too, that in 2014, 2 items of expenditure consumed our entire budget. Salaries and wages and pension emoluments that accounted for just over 50% of total revenues, and debt repayment, taking the aggregate spend on just 2 items of expenditure to over 90%. So we had less than 10% discretionary spending. And it is the CIP proceeds that provided the fiscal space to the extent that we were able to pursue other initiatives. In fact, my dear friend here from Dominica can confirm the numerous occasions that I had to call him to yield a percentage of his credit at the central bank to help us to meet certain critical expenditures, including salaries and wages. And if what I'm saying is not true, feel free to intervene. You can have the mic. So, the point I'm making here is that it has been a lifesaver for the government and people of Antigua and Barbuda. So our external partners, international partners who may see these programs as insignificant and corrupt programs, maybe in your eyes, but for us, they're a lifeline for our people. And they need to be maintained, they need to be sustained, they need to continue to grow and develop so they can continue to generate revenues to help us to advance the living standards of our people. I don't want to get into any micro details, but all I'll say at this point is that CIP has been a lifeline for the government and people of Antigua and Barbuda. That is why we continue to cherish and to protect our program, to make sure that it continues to operate at the highest level of probity, highest level of integrity. Thank you.
Prime Minister Pierre.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me recognize the Excellency, the Governor General, and Leader Williams, my friend, the Minister of Health, and the Leader of the Opposition. Good morning, everyone. St. Lucia entered the CIP space late. In the year 2024, the fiscal year ended 24-25, St. Lucia's total revenue from CIP was $140 million. Out of that, $55 million went directly into cash out of a $2 billion budget. The budget, which I have to continue to debate in a while, is actually $2 billion. And out of that, 55 million revenue from the CIP went into that. The remainder of the CIP funds was used for debt reduction. It's also used for funding several capital and poverty reduction programs. If I can just tell you a bit about our history. St. Lucia is one of the countries that were hardest hit by COVID. Our economy declined by over 20% after COVID. And for the last 3 years, we have experienced over 3% of economic growth. So from that position of more than 20% negative, we now, this year, we're going to be experiencing 4% growth. That has happened because of expansion of the tourism industry. Our industry has expanded, and our investment in tourism, which is mixed. We have a mix of large hotels and a large Airbnb component, where many visitors that come to our country are involved in that kind of living. They go into the villages and live with people, which we try to expand for what we call village tourism or community tourism, where we try to develop the product. So when our visitors come, they not only enjoy the large resorts, but they can stay among people as in the villages, and that has caused quite a bit of movement in the economy, and the lives of people in these areas has increased. So we understand the value of the CIP, and only late last year we passed in Parliament a sovereign wealth fund, and we're going to be taking some of that money from the CIP to put into the SWF, basically for our mitigation and adaptation for climate change. It is estimated that St. Lucia needs to have in reserve over $300 million if we have another major issue as far as climate change is concerned. So we are going to be using part of the CIP proceeds to save in a sovereign wealth fund. So I must say that $140 million has helped our economy, has helped to fund many programs that we could not have funded if we not have it. We are going into housing, and with the proceeds this year, we are starting 2 housing projects so we can cause some of our citizens to have affordable housing, and it's only because of the CIP program. And this is why we want to maintain its integrity, we want to maintain its transparency, so the people can benefit from it. And it's very important that the people get direct benefits so they can feel the benefits of that program. Thank you very much.
Attorney General.
Your Excellency, Governor General, Lady Williams, Honorable Prime Ministers, Nuri, I'm the outlier on this panel, and I can honestly say that St. Kitts Nevis is also an outlier when it comes to CBI. I'll start with a history of where we came from and where we are right now. Leading up to an election in the early 80s, the opposition then said once they got into office, they would eliminate income tax. They got into office and they eliminated income tax. We shortly thereafter became an independent nation. And less than 6 months after that, our Citizenship by Investment program was birthed in 1984. We no longer had income tax revenue. So the program was envisioned to create an extra stream of revenue. Fast forward 40 years, approximately 38 years, into 2022, CBI revenue became 60% of our government's revenue, $600 million. On average, over the last 15 years, CBI revenue has been approximately 48% of our revenue. So it has been the driving force for our economy for the past 15 years, since about 2008, 2009. We're very dependent on it. When we took office in August 2022, we saw the state of affairs and said we could no longer rely on an uncertain industry to generate 60% of our revenue. So we set out on a journey to find a plan to diversify our economy. We developed our Sustainable Island State agenda. And what we decided to do is to fund that agenda, that diversification strategy, with CBI funds. Now, what CBI funds do in St. Kitts and Nevis is that they subsidize the cost of living. For example, the state subsidizes cooking gas, vehicle gas, electricity. We have a program called STEP, where persons who are unemployed are paid by the state to then work in the private sector. We have a program called LIFT, where persons who make under a certain income can receive $500 monetary support. So we spend approximately $250,000 to $300,000 a year in subsidizing the cost of living, as well as supporting social programs. So in essence, we use our money, our CBI revenue goes directly to the people. It creates an environment where persons can afford to live, especially the post-COVID situation. So what we have decided to do as a government is to funnel the CBI funds into diversification and also to create CBI programs that will allow us to expand and also diversify our economy. For example, some of the programs we have right now, our public benefit options are a new airport. In order to raise tourism revenue, we need more people to come into the country. So we're going to expand, we need to expand our airport. We also want to promote the creative economy, so we also have a creative arts center. Basic infrastructure, like my alma mater, which has been shut down since 2015, the Bastia High School, we're using CBI revenue to rebuild that. So we're trying to funnel those funds into diversification efforts. And also, we are this year going to, with the help of the IMF, going to establish a sovereign wealth fund similar to St. Lucia, so that some of the revenue that we receive from the CBI can then pay forward and be used for further development down the road for a rainy day. So that is where our CBI revenue goes, and it is fundamental for us, and that is why you've heard about the CBI 2.0 that the Honorable Prime Minister spoke about in his opening speech. That's where we are right now. We were in a very unsustainable state, and we're now moving to a sustainable CBI. I have a personal view. I don't think CBI dies, whatever our international partners do, because we've had a program for 41 years. It will change, it will morph, and because of the political will of the gentleman you see in here, the brave political will, we are now in a new era of CBI. We're in a regulated, legal, mature state of CBI, because as you can tell from what all of us have said on this panel, CBI is important for our future development. And as leaders and as mature leaders, as the gentlemen here are, you need to make very hard decisions, tough decisions, not just for tomorrow, but for the sustainability and long-term development of the countries. And I think that we have done that, and we're on a good path forward. And I think that from now on, probably started about 2 years ago, that path is now leading to a place where the persons in this room who are the stakeholders will also benefit, as well as the people of our tiny countries.
Thank you so much. I was intending to keep this honorable panel here for a few more hours, and I'm sure everybody would have liked that, but unfortunately, a number of the panelists have to catch a flight. So I want to thank you all very much for coming here. I think just the mere presence of having you here is very, very meaningful. We will continue. We are all here to try to help move this industry forward and help these countries that we care so much about also move forward. So thank you so much for being here again. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Nuri, for so ably hosting the panel this morning. Another round of applause for all our panelists, regional heads of government, and of course the Attorney General out of St. Kitts Nevis, the Honorable Garth Wilkin. I know the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, as a regulator before it took up a regulatory status, has always been an advocate of the CIP-CBI programs, and of course has always encouraged that CBI funds be used not for recurrent expenditure but for capital expenditure. But it was the Prime Minister of Dominica, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, yesterday who said managing a small country is a big man's job. It's a very difficult job to navigate how to spend those funds. So it's very interesting to hear how each of the Prime Ministers were able to use the funds and channel them into economic or socio-economic development. Ladies and gentlemen, I now present you an opportunity to win $500. How does that sound? I don't sense the excitement. $500? Oh, that sounds, maybe that's chick feed for some people. Yes. Right, we're going to offer you that opportunity. But we ask you first, though, that the Honorable, His Excellency, the Governor General of Antigua Barbuda and Lady Williams have to leave this morning's session. So we would ask you to kindly stand for their departure this morning. Your Excellencies, thank you so much for having joined us. We really appreciated having you here. And you may be seated, ladies and gentlemen. So $500, each of you got a gift bag on your way in, and each bag holds one of these cards. It offers you the opportunity to complete the back of the card, and you will be eligible to win $500 by visiting the Client Referrals booth that's just off to, just off to my right here. Not now, during the coffee break or during lunch. Feel free to do that. But Mr. Thomas Anthony and his team to come to the stage at this time, and together they will have that demonstration done for you. In the meantime, we want to hear from some of our platinum sponsors. You'll hear that now.
Our diamond sponsors shine at the pinnacle of CBI excellence. Client Referrals transforms integrity into worldwide results, while our hosts, Antigua and Barbuda CIU, have set the gold standard where principled investment creates opportunities that ripple across nations and global citizens alike. Diamond sponsors
Good morning, everyone. Please allow me to recognize the presence of Prime Minister Brown, other members of Cabinet, and the Attorney General of St. Kitts, Wilkins. Wouldn't you know that a demonstration of technology would lead to the failure of technology? So I'm hoping that this actually works. Grenada has, I believe, over the last 2 years, shown or demonstrated that we're quite innovative in the industry. And there is one prime example of that, and that is our brand mark and brand identity. So back in April of 2023, when I took the helm, one of the things that I determined we needed to do immediately was to rebrand the agency, what was then the CBI unit, and create what we believe is a brand mark that can stand up to any private sector entity, including Fortune 500 entities. And I believe that we accomplished that in our branding that was resulted from that exercise. And you can see that by visiting us at our booth on the other side of the presentation area. But what I wanted to do today, and not stand between you for too long, between your break and me, is to demonstrate, and I hope it works. Ria, am I needing a password? No?
Go back. See? This is exactly what I thought. Demonstration of technology. So you better come up here, yeah? Come on up. Come up. My apologies. We had no practice of this. But essentially, it's an artificial tool which we have created, and it will appear on our landing page, but it's a standalone as well, so that individuals can interact with it and ask any questions, not just related to the investment migration industry, but any question related to Grenada from a tourism perspective, or just any general questions that you may want answered from a Grenada perspective. Does she look familiar? Her name is Ari, and I'm going to try to demonstrate.
Hi, I'm Ari.
Good morning, Ari.
Good morning. It's actually Ari here from...
Ah, okay, so my pronunciation is not quite right.
Got it. Good morning, then. What would you like to know about the investment migration? No worries at all. It happens to everyone. Just let me know what questions you have about the Investment Migration Agency Grenada, and I'll be happy to help.
What can you tell me about Grenada's investment program?
Grenada's Citizenship by Investment program allows individuals and their families to obtain citizenship through investment. You can either contribute to the National Transformation Fund or invest in approved real estate projects. This program aims to attract foreign investment while maintaining the integrity of Grenadian citizenship. Interested in the application process or specific investment options?
Thank you for that, Ari. What can you tell me about Grenada's tourism product?
It seems like there was a bit of a mix-up in your question. If you're asking about tourism in Grenada, it's a key part of the economy, attracting visitors with its stunning beaches, lush landscapes, and vibrant culture. If you meant something else, could you clarify a bit? I'm here to help.
How can I get to Grenada?
You can reach Grenada by flying into Maurice Bishop International Airport, GND, which has connections from several major cities in the Caribbean, North America.
So clearly there's a delay, but you get the essence. As I said, it will appear on our landing page. It's also standalone.
I appreciate your patience.
And it
yes,
means
I'm getting the
can we
gist.
pause it?
If you have
Thank
more questions or need further details about traveling
Can we
to...
pause it? Thank you.
I understand there might be some confusion.
She's quite funny.
You're welcome. If you have any more questions or need assistance with anything else, feel free to ask. I'm here to help.
Okay, yes, that's enough for you, Maria. Harry. But the idea is that 24 hours a day, anyone can interact with her, ask any questions related to the CBI or investment migration space, but also generally about Grenada. As you saw, the demonstration to do with tourism, but any aspect of Grenadian life. Thank you very much for your attention, and enjoy your break.